What if the most important thing in your system that hasn't been seen in modern history? Gold, that shiny yellow metal born from exploding stars and delivered to Earth on asteroids, is reclaiming its throne. For the first time in modern history, gold prices are surging toward levels that are sending shockwaves through the halls of power in Washington and beyond. It isn't just a rally in the markets, it is a heart rate monitor for a system under extreme stress. We are witnessing a massive global debasement trade where trust in the US dollar is weakening as investors and nations scramble for a safe haven that no government can print, freeze, or delete with the click of a button. For the last century, the American dream was built on the stability of the dollar. But that stability was always a psychological invention. For thousands of years, humans used cattle, salt, and grain as money, but eventually settled on gold because it was rare, durable, and universally believed to have value. By 1944, at the Bretton Woods Conference, 44 nations agreed to peg their currencies to the US dollar, which was in turn backed by gold at $35 an ounce. Back then, the dollar was considered as good as gold. But that promise was shattered on August 15, 1971. Facing massive deficits from the Vietnam War and the space race, President Richard Nixon realized the U.S. was printing more money than it had gold to back up. In a moment that changed history, he suspended the dollar's convertibility into gold, turning the world's reserve currency into a fiat currency, money backed by nothing but government trust. Since that day, the U.S. government has been running a perpetual experiment in debt. When Washington needs money, the Federal Reserve effectively creates new liquidity to buy government bonds, a cycle some critics describe as dangerously unsustainable. This reckless expansion has a hidden cost that every American feels at the grocery store and the gas pump. It is a hidden tax called inflation. In the 1970s, a single income could support a family of 8. Today, even 2 incomes often aren't enough to keep pace with the rising cost of living. The purchasing power of the dollar is being pushed down, down, and down, while the price of everything tangible, from bread to houses, continues to climb. A gold sovereign minted in 1880 now takes hundreds of modern pound coins to buy, showing that while paper money is debased, gold remains a long-term store of value across generations. But the real threat to the dollar's dominance isn't just inflation, it's a global deficit of trust. In 2022, the United States made a move that signaled to every nation on Earth that their wealth might not truly be untouchable. By freezing hundreds of billions of dollars of Russia's foreign reserves, the U.S. turned the dollar into a geopolitical weapon. Countries like China, India, and Brazil watched this and asked a terrifying question. If they can do that to a nuclear power, what happens if we disagree with them next? The answer has been a silent but massive financial shift. Central banks are now reducing their exposure to U.S. Treasury bonds and increasing their holdings of physical gold. Gold has overtaken the euro as one of the world's largest reserve assets, and it is steadily closing the gap with the dollar's share of global reserves. China is leading this charge with a strategy that could reshape how money works for the entire planet. For years, the People's Bank of China has been one of the biggest buyers of gold in the world, and many analysts believe its true holdings may be higher than officially reported. They are building what's been described as a gold corridor, a growing network of physical vaults and trade routes linked to Asian gold exchanges. This system allows countries to trade in their own currencies while using gold as ultimate collateral, bypassing in traditional Western financial channels. By reclassifying gold as a top-tier asset on bank balance sheets, China is unlocking gold's potential to fund global trade without touching a single US dollar. Even within the United States, the cracks are widening. While the stock market reaches new highs driven by an AI-fueled boom, many investors worry about froth and unsustainable debt levels. There is mounting concern over political gridlock, runaway deficits, and the long-term independence of the Federal Reserve. As Washington faces repeated fiscal standoffs, investors are quietly favoring gold over long-term government bonds. This isn't just happening at the institutional level. Retail demand is rising too. In China, young people facing a slowing economy are moving savings into gold, a trend mirrored by Indian households who collectively hold more gold than many of the world's central banks combined. The United States isn't standing still while this happens. In moves that signal Washington understands what's at stake, America has taken steps to secure greater physical control over its gold reserves. If the world is shifting toward a system where physical custody matters, the U.S. wants to ensure it controls the largest store of collateral on Earth. We are entering a multi-monetary phase of history where governments compete over what money should be. On one side, emerging powers are building systems backed by hard, physical collateral you can see and touch. On the other, the West is accelerating toward programmable, digital money. This is where Bitcoin enters the frame as digital gold. Like physical gold, Bitcoin is scarce, transparent, and operates outside the direct control of any single government. For Gen Z and younger investors, digital assets represent a way to opt out of a system they feel has already failed them. Bitcoin acts as a pressure valve on central banks, offering an alternative when faith in fiat begins to crack. Even governments now hold digital assets, seized from illicit markets, quietly positioning themselves for a future where hard collateral, physical or digital, matters more than promises. The transition we are facing may become one of the greatest wealth shifts in modern history. The era where the world endlessly financed American consumption is under strain. When fiat systems lose credibility, people rush toward anything tangible. History shows that paper currencies don't fail quietly. They weaken slowly, and then suddenly, confidence disappears. But gold has survived empires, wars, and financial collapses for thousands of years. As we look toward 2026 and beyond, the uncertainty is real. Alliances are being tested. New financial routes are forming over vaults of gold. The sun will rise tomorrow and people will still go to work, but the system beneath them is shifting. We are moving from a world of paper promises to a world of hard realities. Whether it's the physical weight of gold or the digital scarcity of Bitcoin, the message is the same. Blind faith in any single system is fading. In the end, time may be the most valuable asset of all. Time to understand the system you're living inside. Time to protect what you've worked for. Time to decide what you actually believe in before the paper in your wallet is forced to prove itself. Because when the global game of musical chairs finally stops, it won't matter how many dollars you have on a screen, it will only matter what you actually own. The end of paper promises, gold, and the new